Hello, everyone. Hello there. Oh, hello. It's me, that divination witch. I hope you're doing well. I'm back with another witchy video, and this is a request from one of my Patreon members, Amanda. Hello, Amanda. You asked me to do a video about this. The liminal space. So, what is the liminal space? What does it mean? And also, can people get trapped there? Well, let's get into it. If you're new here, hello, I'm Sarah, I'm that divination witch. This is a witchy safe space. So this means if you've got any questions, ask away. Nothing silly. I encourage people to help each other. Everyone be civil, be friendly. That's what this channel's all about. I share what I know and I'm open to learning as well. We've all got to learn and we're all different. So if you like that, please hit subscribe. And I've also got a link tree below. If you're interested in getting a reading from me, I have a shop. I've also got Patreon and I've got YouTube memberships. I'm teaching tarot on both at the moment. More spiritual lessons to come. And on Patreon, we've got a little community and we all chit chat and help each other. And it's a dead friendly place. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. Thank you. The liminal space. I know it all too well because I am a follower of Heade, a daughter of Heade. So Heade, if you're new here, she's my main goddess because I am a pagan witch. And Heade is known as the goddess of witchcraft, sorcery, life and death and the liminal space and many, many things. But she is this liminal deity. Now, what does liminal mean? Well, liminal's the space in between something. It's the in between. So I mentioned Heade there, life, death. That's the liminal. It's not just limbo, as you may think, especially in Abrahamic faiths where you pass on, and if you don't go to heaven or hell, you're just in this in-between realm, limbo. I guess limbo is a liminal space, but that's not all it's about. Liminal spaces are existence in between. So the most common one is between life and death. And we most commonly think about that as somebody who passes away onto the next stage. And what that looks like in spiritual terms, and I've talked about it on the channel before, is if someone passes on and they haven't gone to reincarnate or to a restful place or whatever's next for them, if they're an earthbound spirit, meaning they're a ghost, then that's a liminal space. You're trapped, you're wandering, and you're tied to the earth. You can't move on, and therefore you're restless and you're living in the liminal, because even that space that exists all around us, that is in between. It's in between the physical world, our living physical world, and the spiritual world where deities may live and exist, and other spirits, lost loved ones, etc. So that space in between is the liminal. And when we talk about the liminal, that's most commonly what we talk about. And Heade, it ties back in with her. The reason I know it so well is because she rules over that space and she helps people cross over. She helps the lost souls stuck in the liminal to move on to their afterlife, sort of thing. And so that's the main thing we think about when it comes to the liminal, but that's not all the liminal is. So there is a flip side to that, of the liminal before life. And I've had a glimpse of this, and obviously this will be my UPG, okay? But my glimpse of it was actually through Lilith, and it's a personal story I don't feel too comfortable sharing, but all I'll say is she helped me reincarnate, and that's it. But before you are born into the next life, or if you are a brand new soul, there is a space before physical existence, which is the flip side of the death limbo, I suppose. It's living limbo. This is my terminology for it, but it is a similar existence of you're in the waiting phase. You're in the waiting room for life. You're waiting to be born. You're waiting to emerge, to come into the physical. So that is another liminal space that exists. A good way to wrap your mind around that, there's a Disney movie. It's called Soul. And I swear it gets it right to a T, especially about new souls, which my personal opinion, this is just my opinion, but I don't think there's that many new souls these days compared to ancient times. A lot of people have had loads of past lives. A lot of us are old souls now, but yeah, go watch Soul, the movie. It talks about astral projection, it talks about reincarnation, it talks about what happens to new souls as well. Spoiler, there is a naughty new soul and I love it. I might rewatch that soon. But when I first saw that movie, my jaw dropped. I thought, bloomin' heck, they've got this quite right. So that is a good movie to watch. I know it's a kid's movie, but it's good. It's good. It knows its stuff, or the people knew their stuff behind it. So yes, that's what we normally think of when it comes to liminal space. It's the space between life and death, between the realms. It's not quite in one realm and not quite in another. And when we talk about realms as well, I mean, it depends on what you believe here. I do believe it myself, but I don't know how to put it into words, because I know there's some like love and light sort of paths I believe in, like 5D ascension and all this stuff, and that we're all on different frequencies. But there's different layers to like the astral realm and hierarchies up sort of thing. And I do believe that there is grains of truth in that. I just don't know how to word it myself yet. But I would say there would be liminal spaces in between those layers of existence, you know? So there's lots of liminal spaces in that regard. Now, liminal spaces as well, because they're the space in between, they can also be found within the physical. And I suppose other realms will have their versions of this, but I can only speak for ours because I'm a human. So think of like portals, for example. Portals are doorways. Doorways is a big one. Kind of entryways. I wouldn't just say doorways. I was thinking of archways. I was thinking of caves. I was thinking of places like that. And as soon as I said liminal as well, I thought of the beach. But that's something else to get into. But if you think of even just your bog standard doorway, that's an in-between space. Even if it's just in your house, between two walls, it's an in-between space. And so there are plenty of things in the physical. If there's anything that's in between, that is a liminal space. And that holds in witchcraft spiritual power. So your doorways, your archways, your entryways, cave mouths, stuff like that. The beach, I mentioned, that's a liminal space. And that's a very powerful liminal space. It is. The sea meets the earth and the sky in a way, like the horizon itself. I know it's not something you can tangibly touch, but looking at it is a liminal space. There was something else on the tip of my tongue. Crossroads are liminal spaces. Yes, that's why it's so magical and so powerful and found in witchcraft. And it's another thing, it's where the roads meet. So you're not on one particular path. You're on I don't know if it's a 3-way crossroads. You're on all three at once if you're standing in the middle. It's the places in between. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. I suppose stairways could be as well, in between levels. There's loads, but when you just have a brain blank, when you you put yourself on the spot. Mirrors, another bloomin' obvious one, and that's another big tool in magic. But that's a liminal space because it's in between like our physical reality and then the reflected reality. And all these liminal spaces have spiritual power, especially in witchcraft. Spirits can come through these things, and I don't want to scare people. And I'll have to do a video about this because I have been talking a bit about the negative entities and stuff like this. But this is why witches talk about locking their mirrors, covering mirrors up. Spirits can come through mirrors. They can come through doorways. They can come through portals. Essentially, it acts like a portal. The liminal, it's like a transient place. It is not a fixed place. Heade embodies the liminal in that way. I always think of her. Now, Heade herself, I know this isn't a Heade video, but she rules over this space. And a lot of people, and me included, talk about Hecade's cave. And I mentioned caves earlier. She doesn't have a fixed abode. Heade is a wanderer. She's constantly roaming, constantly gathering souls, helping people, wandering. She's anywhere and everywhere. She's the divine feminine. She's in everything and everyone and everywhere. And if she physically manifests, if you learn how to astral travel, if you physically go to see her, if she takes you to what she says is her abode, it looks like a cave. It looks like a seaside cave. Huge cave on a cliff face, and sometimes you may see the sea, and that is another liminal space. I didn't think of that. But sometimes you may see the sea, and the sea is normally like, it's a rocky shore. It's very rocky. And inside the cave, what I've seen are other caves. It's like a maze in a way. It's like it's roads. It's other paths to take, and then there's loads of portals in there. It's like doorways. She has doorways to many worlds and realms. And that's how, when I've astral travelled, especially when I used to do it a lot, I've seen so many different places. She took me there. She steps through basically a portal and she's there. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like something of a science fiction thing, but in a spiritual way. And that's what the liminal does. It connects everything. Because it is everything. Gosh, this is so philosophy. Philosophy? It's so philosophical. The liminal is this in-between of everything, and it all connects. And if you are somebody who knows about the Sephiroth and the Cliffoth and the void space and the abyss, and I do think it all links. I just feel like it all links in some regard, that perhaps that's a liminal space in itself, because if you do the Sephiroth, you've got to cross that space to get to the next thing. That's a bit more niche. If you don't know about it, don't worry. But yeah, now, getting stuck in the liminal space. Can you get stuck in a liminal space? Well, yes. And I'm not saying that to scaremonger. You can. If you're a earthbound spirit, a ghost, you're stuck in the liminal space. Doesn't mean you're stuck forever. Don't get me wrong. You can cross over. Mediums help people. Heade helps people. I've helped people. People help. Or maybe you help yourself. Maybe you finish your business up. Who knows? But yeah, that's the most common thing. In a spiritual sense, you can get stuck. So, like I briefly touched on the Sephiroth and Cliffoth there. If you, people call it failed initiations, but if you don't go through it in a certain way, I'm just dumbing it down here. I'm just saying it briefly. If you don't go through, the abyss in a certain way, then you might get stuck there in a spiritual way. It doesn't mean you are physically warped there like a Power Ranger. I don't know why I thought a Power Ranger Zordon. That's a liminal space. The bloomin' Power Ranger beam. But you're not physically being beamed to this abyssal space. But spiritually, you might get stagnant and stuck there. And you may have to work your way out of that. It is a risk you take to do these things. But that's something a bit more advanced. And if you're not sure about it, don't worry. You've got to know about it, and you're well prepared before you go into there. Anywho, so that's another way you could get stuck. Aside from that, really, unless somebody is doing some baneful magic on you, then no. If you stay protected, and if you're a witch and you're practicing witchcraft, so, doing your protection spells, having wards up around your home, regularly cleansing and banishing, and, locking mirrors, covering them up. When you're cleansing as well, make sure you go around your doorways and windows and things, and yeah, you'd be fine. Unless someone's got it in for you, but even if you, on a spiritual level, got stuck in a liminal space, it's not that you're trapped there forever. And when I say on a spiritual level, it's your soul, it's your higher self, it's not your physical body, but that could have repercussions on the physical, meaning that you feel down, depressed, poorly, even stagnant energy. It could lead to physical manifestations of the bad things you're experiencing spiritually, as above, so below. It does reflect what happens on the spiritual, reflects on the physical. So yes, you can get stuck, but it's not forever. And that's what a liminal space is. I hope it helped. Yeah, I hope that has helped. If you've got any more questions, feel free to comment. I do try and answer people's comments best I can. If you're on Patreon, ask in the chat. If you're on Patreon, you know where that is. We all have chats on there, and I'll do a video for you. So yeah, let me know what you thought. If there's anything else you want to add, put it below. And if you made it this far, you may as well hit subscribe. And until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.